Hi everybody. US consulates review hundreds of tourist visa applications every day. What are the most important points to consider to get approved? What kind of preparation is needed before applying? What should you watch for during the interview? Is a bank account or property important? Does having relatives in the US help or hurt? Can you still get the visa after a refusal? What can you do if they didn't even look at your documents? Are you applying for a US tourist visa but afraid of getting rejected? One wrong answer in your interview can ruin your chances. Let me help you get it right. Hi, my name is Ramsey Koulen. I'm an immigration attorney, and in this video, I'll walk you through everything you need to know step by step while applying for a B1, B2 visa at the US consulate. Let's start with the importance of filling out the DS-160 form correctly. The most important part before the interview is correctly filling out the DS-160 form. This is an online form everyone applying for a visa must complete. A common myth: officers read the DS-160 form before you arrive. This is usually not true. They don't have time or staff to read every form. But that doesn't mean that the DS-160 form is not important. If the officer reviews the form and your statements differ from the information in the form, you must be prepared to explain the discrepancies, such as change in employment or salary. Also, the information you entered in the forms might be relevant for future applications, especially if you apply for a visa or green card application later. Information on the forms might be cross-checked to make sure you have not provided inconsistent information. So if you're thinking about the future in the US, what you write in the forms matters. Make sure the form is completed correctly. Whether you complete the form yourself or through an agency, keep a copy of the actual form. And I'm not talking about the barcode page which you take to the interview with you. I am talking about the actual DS-160 form that has the information you filled out. It's a PDF document. You might not be able to access it again. Save it in your computer. There is also a deadline to submit the DS-160 form. You need to submit the DS-160 form at least 2 days before the interview. If you submit it in less than 2 days to the interview, you may be rescheduled or your form may not be reviewed on a timely basis. If you have any criminal history, including minor arrests and convictions, you need to be very careful and consult with an immigration attorney to see if it would affect your eligibility for a tourist visa. A common misconception is that if an arrest or conviction does not appear in your police report or background checks, you do not need to mention it. This is wrong. This is not true. You should include all charges, arrests, and/or convictions in your DS-160 form. Not mentioning could result in a misrepresentation determination. Even if the minor defense will not result in being ineligible, misrepresentation will, and you will not be able to get the visa. So how long does it take to get a tourist visa interview these days? You can check the processing times from the Department of State's Visa Processing Times website. If you are renewing your tourist visa, and if your visa has expired in the last 12 months or will expire within the next 12 months, you may be eligible for a visa interview waiver. This means that you may not need to appear for an interview and you can renew your visa by mail. It is important to bring 2 biometrics photos. I always advise this. Even though you upload the photo online, take 2 biometrics photos with you, size 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters or 2 inches by 2 inches. This is just a precaution so that if there's anything wrong with the photos, you can submit them right there at the interview. If you're going to the photographer to take a photograph, tell the photographer that the photo is for a US visa. They will know what to do. You need to bring a valid passport to the interview. Your passport must be valid for at least 6 months and must have blank pages. Even if your passport is expiring, you can travel with 2 passports. The old passport, valid tourist visa, and the new valid passport. But if you show up with a passport that's expiring in less than 6 months at the consulate or has no blank pages, the officers cannot issue the visa, so be careful. It is important that you prove that you will return to your country after your temporary visit to the US. Officers want to know whether you will return home after your US visit. A B visa only allows temporary visits for tourism or business. It's not for staying permanently. By law, the consulate officers must assume that every applicant is an intending immigrant. So you must prove you are not an immigrant. You need to show your ties to your country. So how can you show your ties? For example, job connections, property ownership, such as titles, deeds, lease agreement, retirement income, family members staying in your home country, which you will return to. Actually, none of these items are enough on their own. The officer looks at the big picture, at the whole picture. Many people say after the interview didn't even last a minute. They didn't even look at my documents. That's common. There is no official document checklist for a US tourist visa application. Still, it's helpful to bring all documents that show your ties to your country. And don't be surprised if the officer doesn't review documents. The interview is mostly verbal. But bring anything you're unsure about. Better be safe than sorry. You need to be prepared to explain your US travel plans. If the officer asks you about your travel plans, be ready to clearly explain them. You do not have to have a flight or hotel booking, but if you do, bring them. Speak clearly and confidently. Your previous travel history helps. If you have traveled to other countries for tourism or business, especially the ones selective while issuing the visas, this is a positive signal. It shows you're more likely to return to your country after visiting the US. How should your clothing and personal appearance be? Is appearance important? Yes. You need to look presentable and professional. Dress like you do at your job or in your everyday life. The minimum must be business casual. So how much money should there be in your bank account? There is no specific required amount. Don't just show the balance from the day before in your bank account. Instead, bring 6 months of bank statements. If you have had consistent savings for a while, bring that with you. It shows that you won't need to work in the US and that you can afford the trip. How much money you should have in your bank account also depends on how long your trip is going to be and what is the purpose of that trip. If you're going to do a lot of shopping in the trip, you better have a lot of money in your bank account. Does having a relative or friend in the US help you? Is it good or bad? It could be an advantage or it could be a disadvantage. It helps if your relative came to the US legally and lives in the US legally. You're going to attend something specific like a wedding. And it may hurt if your relative entered the US illegally or he or she overstayed or the officer thinks that you might not return home after hanging out with your relative. So on the DS-160 form, there are questions about family members. Always answer them truthfully. Giving false information can destroy your chances of ever visiting the US. A common question is, does entering the DV lottery green card process prevent you from getting a tourist visa? No, it doesn't automatically. But if you win and do not get the green card, it might affect future tourist visa applications. It shows immigrant intent, which could be a problem later. But at the same time, if you cannot get the green card by September 30, which is the deadline for DV lottery green cards, you can now say that you don't have the immigrant intent anymore and you just want to visit the US temporarily. So what are the things to pay attention to during the interview? For example, do you have to speak English? No, you're applying as a tourist, you don't have to speak English. If you're not fluent, speaking English might actually hurt your case because you may not be able to explain yourself properly. So speak in the language you feel most confident in. Be natural and honest. Give short, clear, and direct answers. Only answer what you're asked. Don't overshare. Talking too much can lead to unexpected follow-up questions. If the answer is yes or no, or one sentence, keep it that simple. And be consistent. What you say during the interview must match your DS-160 form. Your performance and communication and your appearance and your body language matter a lot in these interviews. How about income and finances? Some people have multiple income sources. Salary, pension, rental income. When asked about income, don't just mention what's listed on your payroll. Include all of your income because it matters. If your income is high, you will be expected to come back to your home country. Explain your total income, including all additional resources to your salary. Let's say you are refused or you are denied. Can you apply again after a refusal? Yes, even if you are denied, you can apply again. The officer will not tell you, do not apply again. But if you are given a reason for the denial, do not reapply until that issue is resolved. If no reason was given, wait at least 6 to 12 months before reapplying. That's the recommended period. The next time you apply, the officer will ask you what changed. or even if they don't ask you, they will look for something different compared to your previous application. Don't forget, you will see a different officer at your next interview, and it might go differently. Visa interviews are at the discretion of the officer, so refusals can be unpredictable and refusals cannot be appealed. I also know some applicants got refusals and they thought that they were not able to explain themselves properly, or they were not listened to during the interview. These applicants made another interview immediately, went to the consulate, and were able to get their visas because they explained themselves clearly and they said, I didn't have a chance to explain myself properly in the previous interview. Please listen to me, I need to explain myself. And they were lucky, they found an officer who can listen to them and they were able to get their tourist visas. So although we recommend waiting at least 6 to 12 months before applying for another visa after a refusal, in the past, I have seen some instances where the applicants applied immediately after the visa refusal, were able to explain themselves, and got their visas granted. I hope this information was helpful. Let me know if I've forgotten something or if you want to ask something. Let me know in the comments if you like the video or if you have any questions. I will respond to them as much as I can. And good luck with your B1, B2 visa application. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video so others can see this video. I will see you at the next video. Take care.